Hey everyone, this is Talk Your Game Podcast. It's me and Shahan. Like we promised earlier this week, we have a new segment. We're going to call it the State of Your Fanhood, right? First fan, you can't see his face yet, and hopefully he will show his face, but we thought it'd be no better to bring in our resident New York Giants fan to talk about his team statehood. We have Aasim Syed here. I'll go ahead and let him introduce himself real quick.
Well, I guess the cover says it all. Not again. So, my name's Aasim. I am a diehard Giants fan, born and raised Giants fan. I'm all New York. I was actually born in New York. I've been a Yankees, Knicks, Giants, Rangers fan since the beginning, and I'm ready to talk my team.
All right, man. Well, that's what we wanted. For anyone that doesn't know, he lives here in Dallas with us. We actually watched Monday night's game together. It feels like whenever you watch Giants games together, it tends to not be a result you want. But what happened Monday night, man? I'll let you kind of dive into that.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. When I'm thinking about Monday night, a bunch of different interactions pop out. We got Brian Dable, just really just jawing at his quarterback, throwing iPads at him. Like at the end of the day, it's just like the communication is not there. I'm thinking about Monday night, and I think we got more first downs than the Seahawks. I think we had more yards than the Seahawks. I think the defense did okay, but we still looked horrendous.
Yeah.
Special teams looked terrible. Our offense, poor Danny Dimes, he can't spend more than a second in the pocket before it collapses, and then he's got a choice: either I go run the ball and take some big hits, or I throw an interception. And I feel bad for Dable. He's thinking, not another interception, not another interception. But Monday night was demoralizing, and I'm pissed. I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
like I've never agreed with Stephen A. before, but when he said the Giants are done, I almost feel like the Giants are done. I mean, right? Brian Clark saying the Giants are done. I mean, it is not a good time to be a Giants fan right now, and Monday night was almost the pinnacle.
Yeah, I'm looking at y'all's schedule. The tough part is you had Dallas first, and then you had San Francisco 2 weeks later with Arizona sandwiched in there. The Arizona game kind of looked optimistic, and honestly, Arizona it looks a lot better than anyone thought they would have. It's just I think this Seattle game, even for me, was just kind of confusing. It's like, all right, well, we thought there was an upside. We knew the Giants were going to play well against good teams, but we kind of expected them to at least have a somewhat close game against teams that aren't elite. So, do you think this is just something that they're not playing up to their potential, or do you think there's something majorly wrong with the organization right now?
No, I think you're right. I think they're not paying up to their potential. It's like I think about the team from the beginning. We were 9-7 last year, 9-7-1 last year, right? Our coach was coach of the year. We go into this year. We actually, we signed Danny Jones to a better contract. I mean, he's got paid, and then we just start underperforming. I mean, at the end of the day, there's got to be accountability. And Danny Jones, he's a good guy. You heard him in the press conference. He's like, it's on me. It's on me. I gotta stop making mistakes. I gotta stop. And I applaud him for that. I mean, he's not like Evan Neal over here who's calling me a burger flipping fan, and my opinion doesn't matter, right? Apparently, my opinion doesn't matter. So I think there needs to be accountability, and it starts with the head coach, right? It starts with the head coach,
Yep.
and regardless of the schedule, I mean, play your best, play better than what's expected of you. And I almost feel like they're completely underperforming in every position. I know, like I said, I gave kudos to the defense in the beginning because they did okay, but I mean, everyone else, even special teams, is underperforming, and it starts with the coaching. Someone's got to take accountability.
Yeah, it's great that you brought up Evan O'Neill. For anyone that hasn't paid attention, he basically he called out the fans for being bandwagon fans and not being supportive for them in these rough couple games, especially after the Seattle game.
He
you briefly talked about him basically calling you. Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say he encouraged Giants fans to boo them, and
yeah,
you could leave it at that, but to go on and say They're hot dog vendors and burger flippers. Who are they? And what if I went into their job and criticized their journalism and writing and blah, blah, blah? It was just, you let out your frustrations on the fans, but the fans were letting out their frustrations from week one till now. So
Yeah.
My opinion on that is a long one, so I'm not going to get too winded on it, but I would like to hear a Giants fan's opinion. And yours, Awesome. How do you feel when a teammate, a player on your team talks to fans like that? And on the flip side, they're not winning games to give him, I don't want to say the right to talk to fans like that, but also gives the fans the right to boo them because they're not winning games.
Yeah. I like I said, I think it starts with accountability, right? He is a top 10 draft pick that is not a rookie anymore, right? And he's been playing subpar this year. Obviously, we all know the problem with the line. It's not just one side, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, Daniel Jones can't step back in the pocket. He can't stay in there for more than a second. You got to take accountability. And then to go, you're confusing passion for, complaining and not understanding that we're fans for a reason. We expect good football. You're in New York. You're expected to play up to your potential. And you go out there and say, hey, you know what? Not only am I going to ignore the things that you're saying, but I'm also going to demean you in what you do outside of your fandom. So I have no respect for Evan Neal after what he said. I really hope he goes out there and just puts his work, where his mouth is, and just shows us that he can do something to protect his quarterback.
Yeah,
I think you hit it pretty well. I think fans-wise, us fans don't care if our team loses, right? It's the way you lose. This is why we boo, why we criticize. You said earlier, right? It was an uninspired effort, right? It seemed like there was no effort. It seemed like it was just they were going through the paces, and I think that's honestly what got you and all the other Giants fans upset. Is especially the ones in the stadium. You're paying all that money in New York to at least go watch your team, at least have some fight in you, right? Who cares if you lose? But if you literally just lay down and take it, the most entertainment you guys all got all night was freaking Dable throwing a tablet at someone. I mean, it's not exciting.
The only entertainment your team gave you. Everything else was Seattle giving you entertainment.
Oh,
yeah. Well, I on the Evan Neal thing, just to wrap up, I don't get how he's so upset with the fans. Excuse me, you're from Alabama. You went to Alabama and played college football there. They're just as toxic of a fan base, by the way. So, and I don't hate Alabama. Yeah, I don't hate Alabama or anything like that. But when you play in the Northeast, and not just New York, when you play in Philly, when you play in Washington, when you play in the Northeast, that fan base is in your face. They are like that. You should know that going into that situation and be prepared. You saw that last year as a rookie. But as a rookie, everything was fine and dandy because you were winning games. But guess what? You're not winning games. So personally, if a Cowboys player said that, I'd be like, bro, shut up and put your money where your mouth is on the field. We won't boo you then. I don't care if we lose by a field goal. At least we lost by a field goal and not by, 20-something points. Like, I just don't get that logic on Evan Neal's end there. I'm getting heated. I'm not even a Giants fan. Like, it's just, it's like, I don't get how players can criticize fans when your job is there. It's not like any normal job. You can't walk into a grocery store and criticize a bagger. That's not how it works. Mm-hmm. Your job puts you in that position to be criticized. So you have to accept that's part of the job description. And so if he can't accept that, guess what, man? Those New York fans, like Awesome here, they don't give two Fs. Get out of there.
No.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty. You can maybe complain to another fan base, but we all know the New York mentality, dude. You can say F you, but someone will say F you even louder back. But exactly. 100,000 people in that stadium, they'll say it right back to you.
Yeah, and I think you hit it right on the head, right? You got fans paying money to come see you play, and half of them left at the end of the third quarter. Half of them, right? And then at the same time, you got this Evan Neal. He is in the spotlight. He says the things he says. It's not toxic if we're calling you out for underperforming at your position. And if there are some fans that are calling Daniel Jones out, but Daniel Jones is putting it all out there. He's laying it. He's throwing his body in the line of fire every single time. You know, he's doing his best. He's passionate. So for the fans that are calling him out, that's toxicity. I'm calling Evan Neal out, calling the rest of the line out, calling the coaching out. That's not toxic. That's passionate. I'm trying to make you better. Come show me what you can do.
I mean, I'll just end it with a simple fact. You give up 11 sacks, you have no right to sit there and say, I shouldn't be booed.
Thank you.
No right in the world. 11 sacks.
Yep.
I don't care if Daniel Jones is holding on to the ball.
We'll move on.
I don't.
No. Here.
Yeah. That's 11 sacks.
Half the time he held it for less than 2 seconds, got sacked. So you can't blame it on him.
Yeah.
But we'll go ahead and wrap up that portion. The next portion we have is uniquely just for, people to talk about their fanhood. Yeah. So let me ask you, Aasim, as a fan, what do you think needs to be, like, how do you feel about the Giants overall, right? Not this game. I know we talked a lot about Seattle, but overall as a team where you guys are currently at 1-3, what's your fanhood like right now?
Yeah. So, I mean, a few things come to mind, right? Completely uninspired, right? I feel like there's nothing to play for. These guys have Miami coming up. They have Buffalo coming up. They got some hard games. Already 1-3 in a division that's actually pretty good. We're already kind of discouraged, right? At the same time, you got people on the team not wanting to take accountability. You got a quarterback that keeps getting beat up. The culture is, for lack of a better word, complete crap, right?
Yeah.
So, it is not, like I said earlier, it's just not a good time to be a Giants fan. And, I'm at a loss for words, for what can be done about it. I'm not their GM, right? But when I think about a coach, right, and I feel like at times I could be a coach, in my profession or even just out with my daughter, I feel like I could be a coach. So, as a coach, one, it starts with you, the culture you create in your house. It's shit culture. You got finger pointing, you got guys not wanting to step up. And then at the same time, the people that are doing well get zero recognition, right? And the coaching staff just sits back and just watches it all go down. So I think if I were to say, hey, Aasim, if you could wave a magic wand and do something to change the Giants, I'd want us to fix the culture so at least they're playing their hearts out every single week. You said it before. You're like, oh, as fans, we don't care if we lose, as long as we lose, putting it all out on the field. I mean, I New York fans, we care if we win. We get really pissed if we lose, But at the same time, especially when we lose into rivals, but at the same time, if they do put it all out on the field, at least I can go to bed feeling good about what my team did. And Monday, I did not. Yeah. And I feel like all season, even the Cardinals game, to be honest with you, I felt like there were times where we could have done better, especially in the first half. But, at the end of the day, this season, the entire season has been, we could have done much better. And we looked terrible.
So I want to ask you this question, and you kind of touched on it with the little magic wand, but put your GM cap on and look at this roster. We can always talk about coaching. I'm someone that always looks at coaching first, right? But this roster that's assembled, how do you feel about that? And how do you feel about Daniel Jones basically being locked in as your franchise quarterback for the next foreseeable future, unless they trade him or cut him, or however that works? So how do you feel about this roster moving forward, and Daniel Jones moving forward?
Yeah, let's start with Daniel Jones, right? So I'm the GM. I saw my quarterback and my coach just going at it, multiple times on live TV. Imagine how much more went down what we didn't get a chance to see, right? So as a GM, that needs to be a Tuesday morning conversation, right after the game. We need to figure out how to create some, understanding, some chemistry. I got to fix my leaders first, right? And then move into the rest of my roster, right? So we got some leaders on the offense. We got leaders on the defense, special teams. We got our coaches. I'm getting all of them in a room, and I'm starting to work that point first. And then I think about my line. My line is banged up. I have no veteran leadership. The coaching's been very, very tough. But at the same time, like the accountability that I think I start with my line. If I don't know what's out there right now, right? Maybe I don't need to go anywhere. Maybe I just need to work on what I have and then elevate the conversation. And then I think about my tight end. It's funny. We watched the game together. There were times I forgot we had Darren Waller because they didn't even throw him the ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I guess Bellinger got hurt too, right? But the two tight ends, like we can run if we're worried about pocket protection. Let's make sure our tight ends know that hey, you got to protect the quarterback. Bellinger's good at doing that, especially on the pass, right? So like give ourselves the opportunity to support our main core, right? So start with the line, work your way into the offense. And then give recognition to the defense. I think the defense tried. They did the best that they could given the situation, right? And then obviously I think special teams has got to be a complete disciplinary action against everyone. There's no discipline on that special team.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I was going to say I think you're right. You got to look at that offensive line. For me personally, I told you while we were watching the game that Daniel Jones is also surrounded by a whole bunch of wide receiver twos. No offense to those guys, but there isn't a guy that they picked out that was someone that you could count as like a big body guy outside of Waller, which I thought the trade was great before the season started, but you're clearly not using him properly. So not to say that Daniel Jones has an excuse to say he doesn't have talent around him, but as an organization, as a roster, when you look at it, yes, the offensive line and wide receivers are the two biggest concerns on offense, in my opinion. You can talk about Daniel Jones all you want, but until you surround him with the proper tools, you really can't evaluate him, personally speaking, to the full extreme.
I mean, think about last year. Like, do you say Daniel Jones had a good year last year? I mean, they went to the playoffs, they won a game, and he had subpar people around him then too. At wide receiver. I think the difference is the team was playing inspired and we had Saquon.
Yeah, and last year Daniel Jones showed you that, hey, yeah, you had Saquon, the team was playing inspired, they were more healthy, the offensive line looked a lot better. So you got to see somewhat out of Daniel Jones. And weirdly enough, Giants fans and Cowboys fans have this connection because it was Jason Garrett that took over for the Cowboys and took over for Dak Prescott. And Jason Garrett was the one that took over and developed, quote unquote, Daniel Jones. But we also know that Jason Garrett holds back his quarterbacks, so they will let Jones play freely a little bit more last year, and we got to see Danny Dimes. He ran, he threw, he did all those things. So you want to build on top of that, but you can't have your offensive line regress. You can't have your receivers regress. You can't just say, oh, Daniel Jones, you just get Saquon Barkley, Darren Waller, and you just keep doing what you got to do. He hasn't been able to give his full opportunity to shine. I don't know if he's a good quarterback because of that. I honestly don't know. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. I mean, I think you guys both kind of covered, all the major points when it comes to this team, right? I think I'll just go and end it off with saying that, Aasim, you were right. Last season, they relatively the same team, right? He didn't have great wide receivers. He at least had a decent offensive line. The defense was playing great. But I think it's just something that I think maybe us, as you as a Giants fan, me as a Bengals fan, are currently in this weird, like, where's that chip on our shoulders, right? Mm-hmm. Why can't we stay in close games, right? Why can't we, like, I think what's happening right now, especially with Giants, is they're just getting smacked off. First quarter, they're getting smacked, right? First half, they're getting smacked. And that grit they had last season, that I think there's even a game last season where you and I were moving someone's furniture, right? Both of our teams are down, and you guys had this miracle comeback. And it's like, wow, dude, like, this is the Giants, right? Like, the Giants don't give up. Yeah. And I just don't see that this year with the Giants, and hopefully that changes. Like you said, that I think you're 100% right. It's that locker room mentality needs to change somehow. Right? Play inspired, give the fans what they need. Yeah, culture.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and end it with one last thing. Best case scenario that you see for your Giants for the season, and worst case scenario based on where you're at right now.
Best case scenario, we get to the playoffs. Obviously, I think it's a long shot because of what we got going on, and what the schedule is going to look like. But I think if we can show that grit and determination to win some games and get ourselves back into it, that would be us showing that, hey, we're resilient and we're ready to do something, right? We're still here. Giants are still a formidable opponent. But that's the problem. We're not showing that, right? And then worst case scenario is just the team implodes. I love Brian Dable. Great character, great coach. I mean, I think he's a good coach, but I think he has that chip on his shoulder, and we saw that on Monday. That passion, right?
Yeah.
I would be devastated if they got rid of him just because of this. And that would, and same thing with Daniel Jones. Like, I would be devastated if they got rid of both of them or one of them because of the way the season has started. And that's the worst case scenario, my man.
Well, worst case could be a blessing in disguise, and you end up with Caleb Williams next year.
Yeah, you're right.
Caleb Williams, or if you don't want a quarterback, Marvin Harrison's basically the lottery pick for wide receiver.
Oh yeah,
so
get him a wide
receiver one. There you go.
Yeah.
Tanking does not go well in New York. We not tank, regardless of what we got coming up. So,
okay, team no tank in New York. I like that.
No tank.
I can respect that.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, hey man, we definitely appreciate you coming on. You are our first inaugural guest on the State of Your Fanhood segment. I think this went very well. Very happy to have you on. Anyone else that wants to join, let us know. We're going to go ahead and drop something here on Instagram asking who wants to join. You have a tall act to follow behind Aasim, I think. You kind of gave me and Shahan some insight that we probably weren't even thinking about. So we appreciate that, man. Hope to see you to watch some more games. Hopefully you win some games when you watch it with you.
Maybe not with me.
But that's going to go ahead and wrap up this special little segment. This is the Talk a Game podcast. I'm Kev, that's Shahan, and we got Aasim Syed over there on the right.
Thanks, guys.
Seeing you guys.
Peace.